A very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. So our last session, we were discussing about the Linux commands, which is a PS command to see the list of process in the system, and the -e-f options are the ones that we generally use to list down all the process, is what we have seen. And we used a kill command to stop the process, end the process. And and after that, we talked about a sudo prefix or sudo command that will help you in taking the administrative privilege to that particular system, by the way. So any command you can execute, you can give with sudo as prefix, by the way. So you are actually using the privilege as you logged in as a normal user, but you always executing the things as a with the privilege of root user. So we have given sudo prefix command. After that, we have seen sudo user add to add the users. And after that, with sudo, we talked about a DNF command. In DNF command, we talked about list option, we talked about install option, remove. So this install remove, most of the time it is going to be remove. Most of the time it is going to be install. That should be fine. List and install. And also, where do we get these repos from? So we have seen /etc/yum.repos.d. So this is the location where you have some repo files. If DNF needs to download and install the package, by the way, where it has to go and download. So the information is actually kept in a place called as etc.yum.repos.d. And after that, finally, we talked about systemctl to manage the services, by the way. So we have start, stop, and restart. And along with that, if you want to start the service at the time of reboot, it is enabled. If you don't want it, disable. So until here, we have discussed in yesterday's session. Let's continue from there. So let him just trying to create a VM. Okay. So today we're going to talk about um, uh, how do we deal with the files permissions in the Linux ecosystem or Linux operating system, by the way. Now, the file properties is in two ways, by the way. So one is the file ownerships, and the second one is file permissions. Okay. Now, whenever I try to create any file, so touch, let's say sample. Now, ls-l, automatically it is going to give us it is automatically going to give us a permission to this particular file, which is whoever has created that whoever has created that file. So that as a file owner, it will come, and whichever the group that this guy belong to, okay, the primary group, he may belong to multiple other groups also, but to the primary group wherever he belongs to, that group name will come into picture. When you do ls-l of after creating a file, so you can see the file owner, who is the owner of this file, and who is the group owner of this particular file. Now you can start transferring this file from one user to another user. Okay. So for example, sudo user add, like let's say something called as DevOps. Now you can just start giving this particular file ownership to the other user. So that means I'm going to give sudo chown, change the ownership, okay, to DevOps user, to which file? Sample file. So now that means this file ownership you have transferred from aged user to the DevOps user. The same way, you can change the group ownership also by using the chgrp, maybe some other group. So for example, there is a group called as bin in the system. It's a default group. So let me go through that. Okay, so this is what the uh, ownership transfer of a particular file you can do for a directory also. If you're doing for a directory and all the files in the directory you want to do take care, so then -r will come into picture. Okay, yeah. So here, this is how you change the ownership and group. So for an example, if you want to change the ownership and group at the same time also, it is possible with chown directly, chown, and you can give aged user aged user, and the file name is sample. So in a single shot, you're able to change the ownership of the owner and as well as the group, by the way. You can do individually, chown for just for the owner, chgrp just for the group, and or else you can use chown, you can use owner group at the same time you can do also. You can transfer the ownership to other users, by the way. Okay, now the next question is, okay, you change the ownership, by the way. What is the advantage, or what is the owner can do here? Okay, I change the ownership, by the way. So then what is it to me, by the way? Right? There is a file change to my ownership. Now, what is it to me? What can I deal with that? So that is where the next one, which is the file permissions, comes into picture. Okay. And the file permissions you're going to deal with is by using mod command. Now, in the permissions, by the way, you have three types of permissions: read, write, execute. So now here you're having on the left side, again coming to the left side, there is another section here. Now the first character over here determines the type of the file. The first character determines the type of the file. And after that, you're having 9 characters. That 9 characters will tell, okay, so what the 9 characters will tell, okay, what this owner or group owner or even someone else, actually, what they can deal with this file, or what can do with this file. Okay, so that means, so now let's say here, 3 sections we have, right? Let me put like this. So I just splitted that into three parts. Okay, RWS. Now, what is this up for? Whom it is, by the way, is owner. Now it is group owner, and it is others, by the way. That means a owner can, R stands for read. Sorry. So R stands for read, W stands for write, and then O stands for others. Sorry, X stands for execute. Execute. So that means the owner can read the file, write the file, and execute the file. The group owner can read the file, write the file, execute the file. Now, what is the permissions that we have on this particular file? So now these are the permissions which I have. Now, if you compare, by the way, now what is that owner can do? He can read, he can write, but he can't execute. Now, what group owner can do is he can read the file, but the other two permissions doesn't have for group. Now there is a execute. Sorry, there is a others, by the way. Now what others can do is just read, not write, and execute here. Now you can change these particular permissions, okay, by a command, and here UG and consider as O, by the way. Now there is a command, by the way, chmod. Chmod is a command. Now you want to give the user permission plus RWX. If you are giving on the right side, what are the permissions you wanted to give, you can give that. Okay. So this with these characters and that particular file will do the job. Okay. So that means let's say sudo chmod, okay, ugo minus rwx, let's say, to sample file. Now ls-l, I removed all the permissions. It's all flat because I removed minus. Okay. Now let's say I'm giving rwx only for user. Okay, u plus rwx. U plus rwx. So that's where you can see this. You got that particular permission. So you can change the permission however you want. Now, not only this user, not only the people who belongs to this particular group, who are others in the system are others. And what they can do is read, write, execute. You can change the permissions by using chmod command. You can play with that. All right. Does it make sense? Any questions? Any questions, confusions?
Raghu, can you go to the screen? The place where you executed. Okay, so here sudo is compulsory, right? I mean, not a regular user can change the file permission.
Yeah. So there are two things here. If you are the owner of the file, without sudo also, you can give permissions to whomever you want. Let's say you're not the owner, then you require sudo. So now I am the owner of this file, right? So even I can do this without exclusively, like let's say, O also I'm giving, right? I'm able to do that. So for an example, if I have any file and touch new .txt, something like that, and sudo chon DevOps :DevOps, which is new.txt. So we have this file, ls-l. So now this file I don't actually have, I'm not the owner. So now if I give chmod, so ugo plus rwx to new.txt, let's say. I get permission denied. So you have to use sudo. So that's where I just shown that way.
One more thing, normally in Linux, when you use sudo, you need to give a password. So that is not being displayed here.
That is not necessarily needed, by the way. So the sudo can be set in such a way that, so when you are actually using, it's like, it is like asking your password once again to make sure you are the right guy, by the way. So once again, even though you log in and again are using the sudo can be configuration can be given again saying that again to ask your password and validate it, or else you can also go without validating that also. It's just a one level step extra security feature that they will provide, and it's necessarily not needed. I don't think so. It has too much value around it. Just by giving asking a password again, I don't think so.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay. Now that comes to the end of some topics here. So we have a couple of more topics, by the way. So that one is here CHOWN, CHMOD, and CHBRP is also fine. Now, what else we can, what else we are going to have here is about the disk information. Okay. So we set up, or we basically like, so we have, I mean, any operating system we have is a disk, by the way. Now, how can we know about the disk information? Okay. That is where certain commands will help us. And the first command is lsblk. lsblk will tell you, okay, what are the disks that we have. So I'm having SDA, which is one hard disk, and SDB, which is second hard disk. So this machine is having two hard disks. So the second hard disk is not belongs to you, by the way. It actually it is used by Azure for some reasons behind the scene. Okay, forget about this for now. This is actually your disk, by the way. Okay, now it is called as SDA because I'm not sure how many of you know the parallel technology, PATA hard disk. Okay, if you have seen the desktop world very long back, so we used to have a hard disk, by the way. So we used to have the PATA parallel, I mean, parallel ports, by the way. Okay, very long back. So we used to have this PATS. Now, that time, so those hard disks used to be called in Linux as HDAs, by the way. HDA, HDA1, HDA2, like that. Okay. Okay. So I'm not sure. Images also, you are getting the images. So it used to be like this. A hard disk like this is a power connector, and this is this cable. Now, that, I mean, the technology has moved a lot, by the way. So now it become a SATA. So SATA becomes a serial, by the way. So serial disk will be looking like this, and the cable also will become, something like this, power and this one. Okay. So now after serial disk come into picture, so it's all serial only. Like serial has a lot of advantages over parallel ports, and so it's all serial. Like USB, you take that. Hard disk also, it is serial. So that's where S stands for serial. So SDA. And one hard disk, by the way, it has been created as 4 partitions. So that means even one hard disk I created C drive, D drive, E drive, F drive. Like that, 4 things has been partitioned, by the way. Okay, 4 partitions are there. So that is the information you're getting. So this is just about the hard disk, by the way. Out of this, basically, like, you'll have some understanding, but the major thing I'm talking about is, you can look for the size here. So what is the size of your hard disk? Okay. So just there's also a couple of other commands use the disk information, but mostly lsblk is a good one to start with. Okay, that is lsblk. And now let's say this disk, by the way, how much is used and how much is available now. Okay, so what do we do is we're going to go for the command called as df-h. df-h will tell you so how much that each and every partition is using. Okay, here SDF4 is being used majority. This is 29 GB hard disk, and where you're getting on 8% used, by the way. So the remaining is available to use. So this is what is being. Okay, so df-h, df itself you can show, but df will show you little block sizes. And I'm using -h just to show you in a human readable format, so that I'll easily understand. So megabytes, gigabytes, it will consider. Otherwise, all showing in bytes, pretty difficult to understand. Okay, so there are certain more commands, by the way, so which will come when we hit it. The problems we'll see. How do you increase the disk size, by the way? Okay, so we need to we'll go essentially through some problems. So that time we'll talk about it. But for now, for the information sake, by the way, I am okay if you are giving or if you are knowing ls, blk, and tf commands. These are the two commands. All right. So the next is, yeah, any questions before going to the next one? Okay. The last topic which we have, at least in the Linux basics over here, is the network information. So related to the network is a very important thing in the world of microservices. Okay, so if you go back to the first demo class, if you remember, I was talking about the development was actually happening as a monolith, and after that it is becoming it has become microservices. Okay, right? And it became microservices. Now, when we go for microservices, okay, so the thing it comes is all you split the pieces, by the way. One piece run in one server, another piece runs in another server. Now, all these get communicated over the network, by the way. So network is a very crucial component. Okay, so in the microservices world, for an example, if you take Amazon uh, versus Netflix microservices, there is a diagram, by the way. Big platforms usually will have such diagrams. This is the diagram, just let's say. So that is coming up for Amazon. Now all the components whichever it is connected each other, they got this diagram. The same way Netflix has made a diagram to get it, all the devices connected. So this is what the diagram, so they were getting it. Now all the lines you see over there, let's say blue, all the blue things is all the network, component to component, how they were talking. Okay, network is a very critical component, by the way. Okay, I can also show some of my project. Um, yeah. So you can see the diagram, by the way. So to one of the project when we actually made our things, by the way. So here is what the connections, by the way. So all the origin is basically like the outside is the services. Okay. And okay, and to the next level, so how is it connected? Now all the lines you see over here is all, this over these configurations, by the way, like, each and every dot is a configuration, and through that configuration, it is actually reaching to the other destination, by the way. So all becomes like that. Okay, so this is literally a network diagram. So we have two data centers. So this is one data center representing somewhere, and there's another data center, two data centers, or even in fact actually showing three data centers. Okay, so then we have certain floor information, and everything is, so it's connected. So this diagram is not, is a photo from phone, by the way, because I can't take the actual screenshot from take the screenshot and share actually on the on the laptop to other laptop. So yeah, I just took the phone based one. Okay, just an idea, by the way. So this is how the world runs on the platform side. Yeah, so now the thing is, so the network is very, very important and crucial, by the way. Okay, now in order to understand what all the things that we have in the network. Okay, so first thing is, to know about you logged into your system. Okay, you're going to have or first of all, if you want to understand the network of the cloud, by the way, to starting point of the cloud network. So first you should have a solid understanding on how your home is operating, by the way. Okay, so how the network is there in your home. Okay. So then you can simply relate that to your cloud network. Home, by the way, so what are you doing? So you're taking a Wi-Fi router. You're going to have a Wi-Fi router, and you take an internet connection. Okay, so to the Wi-Fi, through the Wi-Fi router, and you're going to have multiple devices behind the scene. You will connect those devices. Okay, so you can say that it's a laptop, it can be a mobile. Okay, all the things you can do. All right, so you're actually connecting to this Wi-Fi. So this means what you're actually trying to do is you're taking one connection and you're splitting that to multiple devices. All right. Now, let's say if you don't have Wi-Fi router, if I need to get an internet, so what do you need to have? So you're going to have a separate direct connection. You get, in order to you to plug into the internet, by the way, so what do you need to do? You need to have an address. So it's all about internet only, right? So end of the day, it's all a big internet. What is your ISP provider is doing you? So he is just plugging you into a world of network, which we're calling it as internet, right? Internet means, okay, a group of devices. All the devices are connected to a one big network, that is internet, right? So that is what it is, by the way. And while doing this, by the way, he has an option of controlling your bandwidth. That's the only thing. That's it. Okay. So the internet means a huge number of devices are connected so that they can communicate each other. Okay. So that is what is internet means, isn't it? Now, so here you are going to have okay, a communication that is being done between your company, by the way, or your home. You can just have your interconnections between this one. So here also devices can connect to each other, and you're going to call that as intranet. This is called as, these also device to device, they can communicate. They formed a small network, okay, under your Wi-Fi router, or it can be any router, by the way, but it means, so here you have the communication between the device to device, and that is a intranet. This is internet, okay, and this is intranet. Now, so this is your typical home setup. So you're taking one IP address to connect to this particular internet. You require an address. So that's where we're going to get one IP address here. Okay, you take one IP address and you get that particular IP address to Wi-Fi router, and now to the laptop. Okay, so it is actually, so splitting that internet, by the way. That means, so literally when a laptop or mobile, when they go to the outside world, they represent this IP address only. For an example, to show you this, now for an example, if I go to system settings of my system and my network, by the way, like let's say, and if I go to the details of the network, let's say I got the IP address, my real IP address of the system is 192.168.1.165. This is my real address of my system. My system is associated with this address. Okay. But if I go to the internet and ask, like, so what is my IP address? Okay, it is gonna give me some other address to me. Okay. So IPv4 will come, let's see. So it is somewhere, tracking from this location it is taking. So this is my IP address. Now, if I'm seeing in my system, okay, if I'm seeing in my system, I'm seeing one address, but the moment I actually go to the internet, so that means what I did is I went to here and, so checking my information. So I'm looking like this 49.205. Okay. So your servers also is going to have one IP address, by the way. So which is called as an internal IP address for intranet purpose. Okay, so that IP address is basically is IP space A if you give it. So this IP address is being allocated automatically by cloud, and you got an IP address called as 10.0.0.4. This is the actual IP address of the server. Now my server needs communication to the outside world, and outside world is trying to reach to my. See, in your home, by the way, outside world is not never reaching you to your laptop. You only always go to google.com. You only go to, always you go towards the internet. Internet is never coming to you, but actually coming to the company, by the way. Okay, so then our company, our cloud. So what is happening is, okay, so there is this is a server one. Okay, this is a server two servers, and maybe not a Wi-Fi router, but still some sort of a device, by the way. Okay, now here it is actually going to have, they're providing a different IP addresses here to this server one. So there is some configuration on the routing side, which is telling, okay, so you can reach to this machine like this. Okay, so that means you're having one IP address for this from this server and another IP address from this server. And for internet also, you have one IP address here and one IP address here. So these IP addresses are internal IP addresses. So here is the one you are seeing, both for intranet communication, and outside world still reach to your server. So that's where the public IP address has been given to you. So one address for you to reach. So that means literally what you're doing is, at this point of time, is Azure is actually trying to give you a separate public IP, let's say. They're giving you literally one internet connection, separate internet connection to each and every server, almost. Okay, if you're getting a separate IP address all the way, that means you get a separate internet connection only. Completely, you're getting a new internet connection. Okay, so this is what is, okay, so something about the first to start with the information of the server. Okay, but you're not done there yet. So in the companies, you're not done there yet. Now we are trying to reach our IP address. Okay, and that IP address is directly, so taking to your server, by the way. Maybe I do SSH, doing something SSH and IP address, all the way I'm going from here to reaching this particular server in this manner. Okay. But however, these servers are generally a big ones. Okay. servers are usually a big ones. That means server, and the servers are so are the big ones. So that means they has the capability to serve many services, not only single service. They have the capability for multiple services also. Okay. So that means each and every service on that particular server. So then, how do you categorize, and how can you tell that, a particular service I'm trying to reach, isn't it? So there are 10 services running in this particular server. Now, how can you actually go to a particular service? Okay. So that's where, okay, there is a port introduction happened. So there's a port, by the way. Okay. So this is one port. Okay. So this is one port, another port like that. Okay. So port is a number. So ports are ranges from okay. So 0 actually it will start, but that's okay. You can give 1, 2, 65,535 or 536 something. 0 means 0 to 535. If it is 1 means 536. I think 0 only. So these are the port ranges, by the way. So which we have total. Now that's where any service, whatever you're running, we're going to reserve one port number. So that means you hit an IP address specifically with a particular port number. Okay. You have an IP address to the server, and you are going to hit the particular port number. So now when you're actually using the putty, now you try to understand you're hitting the server with the precise port information, right? So if you go for putty, okay, so then images. Now you see this when you're actually opening on the right side, you're having a port number 22. You're giving an IP address on the left side. Yeah, you're giving an IP address on the left side, but on the right side, very precisely, you're giving port number 22. Okay. So you're hitting that particular server very much precisely over a given port number or particular service on the port number. So 22 is a default port number of SSH. A putty also is giving 22. Okay. So that's where you're able to reach to the server over port number 22. So the ports will be there. Now, what are the ports which are actually open in my server? Okay, can be verified by using the sudo ss command. Okay, so ss command can help you with the list of information. Now, previously there used to be a command called as a netstat also. A netstat is also there, but still now in the modern one, I think in the from Red Hat 8 or 9, they introduced ss command. So they may, as a default command, netstat may not be available all the time in all the machines, unless until it is exclusively installed, but ss is available by default for you. Okay, ss and hyphen. I wanted to know only the listen ports on my system. -l I'm giving ss -l. So these are only the listening information on the system. Now it is giving too much information, by the way. So of many things, I'm looking only for particularly a network information. That's where I'm going to give TCP information only, the network traffic exclusively. Now LT I'm giving. So this is what is a thing it is telling, what you're getting. And now here it is showing as SSH, by the way. I would like to get only the numbers. N is what you can do. So it is telling the port number 22 is open. Okay. And yeah, you can use 4 also, 4L. 4 means, by the way, it is trying to show two ports, by the way, right? Okay, for 22. There in network also, there are two types of addresses, which is IPv4 and IPv6. Okay. Now, what is the IP addresses we are seeing, like, 10 dot or 20 dot, these are all and all is the IPv4 address, and mostly the world we deal with IPv4, especially around the server world. And also if you are having many devices, okay, so then it is difficult. So that's where IPv6 came into picture for more number of people, especially like my internet connection. If you just look in what is my IP address, I'm getting an address information as IPv6 address. By the way, I have IPv6 address. Okay, so because the ISP provider which I'm having is the so wide is a big one in India. Now to have many devices connected, by the way, so I think you would have went with IPv6. Okay, so yeah, whatever the reason it is, so we got we want only the IPv4 information you can use. Okay. So 4 LTN. Now there is a process which is coming as empty. You can also use, you can also ask for what is the process ID which has opened this particular port, so which will help you in some cases. So now you can see this, you are getting which is the process has opened that. And the same command is available for netstat also, netstat-lnt. So it is just showing in different columns, whether it is trying to show in a different way. All right, so this is how we are going to deal with open ports on my system. So what all the ports which is available in my system and which are open and getting served, you can identify by using. If someone, let's say, hey, I'm not able to access the service inside the server, first thing you should, let's say you logged into a machine, the first troubleshooting that you do is, okay, what are the ports which are open? So I'll check it out here. Now sudo, let's say dnf install nginx. Okay. Sudo systemctl start nginx. Now you go for sudo, basically access information and enter. Now this, without sudo, you can do that. What is the only difference will come is you will get everything, but the only information that you lose is process information. The process can't be come unless until you have used sudo. Otherwise, you're just looking only for ports. It is also will work. Without sudo also it will work. Okay. So now what you are getting is port 80 is open now. Port 80 is open. So that's how you can see that a new port. I started a service. That service Nginx has opened a port which is called as 80 port. Okay, so that's about something, the information about all the ports which are opened on your server. You can check it out by using. Okay, so IP space, there are a couple of commands, IP space A, and then SS LNTP. Now you're not done there yet. Okay, you have ports open on your server, but you're not done there yet. In the server world, okay, it is going to be okay. So server world, it is going to be in the sense like these servers are going to be protected, okay, by something called as a type of devices called as firewalls. Firewall is a device. So we are getting protected. Our systems are getting protected by using firewall. Now, the firewall rules will tell that who can reach, who cannot reach to our server on certain port or not. Okay, so this will decide whether you have the connection to that particular port or not. Okay, so someone is actually protecting you, guarding you. Okay, by default you're open to everyone, but someone is actually protecting you. Okay, looking towards what you're actually what you're actually running. Okay, So even though you run on the server side, by the way, but there are some guys who is actually trying to protect you and will. Okay. So any traffic, whoever is coming in, this is like a security guard. So sitting there, so scans who are you and send to the appropriate process, by the way. So there's a firewall. Yes, even our server also, okay, we got it in the Azure, is also being protected by a firewall, by the way. Okay. So if we wanted to see that particular information, we should be going to I think, I mean, is already protected by a firewall, and that is the firewall we have created here. On that day, okay, so what I have done is the prerequisites part. If you remember, what we are doing is we are trying to create one allow all network security group. This allow all network security group is the one which is a firewall, by the way. Security group is called as firewall. Network security group is called as firewall. There, after creating this one, so what you're telling is any guy, any port range, okay, any guy with any port can reach to any of my server to any port can reach, is what you have written and added. So that means these servers, whatever I have, created now, so I can freely access, okay, without any problem. So why I have done this is because in the day one, dealing with all these particular things is all challenge. So slowly we'll, talk about, and also the syllabus perspective also, slowly we'll go to it towards to a security layer. Okay. So where we deal with all the security aspects that we have an issue in the project, by the way, we'll deal that and we'll cut down, trim down all the access. Okay. Whatever we have. So that's where until then, okay. Until then, this firewall, okay, I just kept it open. Completely, I kept it open. So any server I'm creating, I'm just choosing this allow all firewall. So where all the rules are open, and that's how I'm not giving any protection to my server. I'm still okay. Okay, because until some days, and after some days, we'll try to consider this wide open is a problem, and we'll start closing down those particular ones. Okay. So that is where okay, so we have a firewall protected. So that means literally all our servers are being protected by something called as firewall. So our server, even though we're reaching from the outside world, so these are getting protected, by the way. So, but we are still giving allow all. We're not giving the complete protection to the server. Just opening it. So that's where now the moment I installed Nginx, let's say, to this particular server, I can directly go and access this particular server or the browser because Nginx going to open 80 port, and that is HTTP port. So a HTTP service I can access from the server. I'm getting some test page. Okay. So this is what is we are doing. So I just try to install okay, our start a service, by the way, 80 port is open. And here also it's HTTP means it's a default 80 port only. You don't really specify anything. So automatically it is going to work. Yeah. So that's where, so here you can check all the ports by using SS command -4lntp. You will see all the ports which are open on the system in this one. So IP-A will show your IP address, and SS-lntp open ports it will show. Now IP-A, I necessarily don't want to, okay, so do it also because in the prompt, by the way, I'm just trying to, okay, so set up what is my public IP address, what is my private IP address. So this public IP address is the address which is coming from the internet. So this is actually my server. So this is getting translated. So through my router will point the connection coming from 20.162. 81.97, so should go to 10.0.0.4. A router has a rule telling that, you connection coming from here, go to here. They'll have a rule. And what type of machine it is, there is some other information it will pull, Git repository and all. So just these informations will help you and me also handy, by the way, when we do troubleshooting. So by seeing the prompt itself, we'll come to know what server you are in, and what type of server you are using, and what is your code URL. Okay, all those things will become easy for me also to start troubleshooting, rather than when you come to a lab session and share your screen, and rather than cross questioning you many things, by seeing your screen itself, certain prompts, I can start looking those details, so behind also. So that was the idea about it. Okay, so that's how this information IP-A necessarily no need to type. You can see there in my prompt, by the way. Otherwise, command and SS is another one. Clear? Any questions? Maybe too much.
Hello.
Yeah.
I have also like IS provider have a single IP header.
Hey, your voice is lost. Can you please come again?
I'm asking like one ISP provider have a single IP.
No, ISP provider, what he sell, by the way, he's a shop. I mean, he's a shop. He sell IPs only. That's what he do.
Like I have a connection with the ISP provider. I have two connections. If I both have different IP.
If you have taken two connections, that means he sold two IPs only to you. That's what I'm telling. ISP, what he will sell is IP only.
Okay. I have also like firewall is a reverse proxy or forward proxy.
No, both are wrong. Firewall is different, proxy is different. Firewall is just allowing you. It's like a security guard, whom to allow, whom not to allow. That much only it is doing. So that to be, okay, so which IP address, okay, who is the source IP address, okay, and which port, by the way, to be allowed, not allowed, he will detect. Doesn't matter, okay. And he's not doing any proxying, but
One question like we have server 1 and server 2. These are doing intranet.
mm-hmm.
Then what is the difference between internet and intranet? Internet also a network, and internet also a network.
Correct.
Then
So
what
the
is
network created by the whole world is internet. The network created for your servers to communicate is intranet.
if server 1 want to connect with server 2, we need to create intranet.
I mean, it's come out of box, right? So your Wi-Fi router is the one which is giving intranet. I did not got your question, by the way. You're asking, is intranet need to be created?
Yes, that's the question.
You go for an office, by the way. Have
Yeah.
you ever visited your office?
Yeah.
Did you do some printer and all, printing, Wi-Fi printing, or network printing? Okay. So those devices are all in the network. That's how you're able to print.
Yeah.
Right? It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So unless until there is a network, so two machines can't communicate. Okay. So there is a network which is created for internal purpose. Okay. And that is essential, by the way. That is intranet. And there's a network created for, for all devices to be, created or communicated. Okay. That is intranet. Internet.
Okay. Internet is for whole world. Internet for small.
Internet also is a network only. That's what you do, by the way.
Okay.
It's also internet. It's also just a network. That's it. You don't have anything else special. So this is only like your systems can access each other. Here is where every device which is connected to that network can communicate. Like let's say google.com. Google.com is one server they plugged into your they have one IP address they plugged into internet. Now that's where you go to the browser and you type google.com. Maybe you're thinking that you're typing google.com, but let's say if I give ping google.com, there's an IP address associated to that, and it will reach to this address, by the way, this IP address. And that's how, rather than giving the IP address or rather than giving the name, we don't have name, I have given IP address, but Google has a name. Okay,
Yeah, we are attaching the IP address to the name.
I have given it, still it is taking me to google.com, taking it. So that's what I'm hitting that server. However, I have hit my server and got the response, which is hosted in that server. Now google.com also, I hit that server and I got the response only. That much only we had done. Just a network.
Okay.
Okay.
Hello, hi Raghu.
Yeah.
So when we are trying to reach with HTTP yes and our public IP, it is not able to reach. Why? And when it's giving HTTP only, we're able to reach to that our public IP, right? So what is the difference there?
Because you enabled only HTTP. Installed Nginx, it opened HTTP only, 80 port only, and
Okay.
HTTPS is a different port. So HTTPS port, if you see, so the port is 443.
Okay.
So you didn't enable any 443, so you can't reach.
Okay. So all these available like Google and everything, they are open both. I mean HTTP and HTTPS, is it? Like.
Correct.
Okay. 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 Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, hi Raghu. Raghu, so in future, so with the security groups, we will restrict the access, right? Like in our organization, everything was restricted with the security groups, right? In the while creating the virtual machine, we are by default we are setting up with the basic one right now. So in future, generally, we'll all do all the requirements, all the security. We'll put that section only, right, to
Correct.
restrict the access.
Correct.
Ah, thanks.
So I already installed the engine, already did the 480 listening. When I try to curl the my IP, it's just, and then if I try to do the ping, even ping my public IP address, it's doing nothing. But if I try like Carol and 127 like localhost, that it starts working.
It will work, right? So it's working from the outside world. So you can't say that it can't work localhost. So here, localhost, you're also getting the response here. It's working.
But if I try like Carol and then my public IP address, it doesn't work.
That's what we have seen, right? So the curl is just one client, by the way. So here I can give curl, give this one. I'm getting the same response. You're already seeing the response, right?
You type? Okay, but I didn't use the HTTP. I just used the IP address. So it's supposed to use the HTTP at the beginning.
Doesn't matter. It's still works.
I see. I'll figure it.
Any other questions? So mostly, I think with this, most of the Linux related commands we are done. So these commands, at least you should have a fair understanding. Keep it here. Just added here for reference as well. So at least, so there's hardly like, less than 30 commands. Okay. So we should be able to, remember. So just in, let's say, a couple of weeks, by the way, you should be able to comfortably remember these particular commands. Now, since we are, aware of this, so I know, at least I know now how to deal with an operating system. If someone asks us to set up certain thing, I mean, what they can ask, by the way, they ask you to set up a web application or some application, they'll ask you to set up on your server. Now you have a fair idea on, okay, so just at least a decent idea on how this operating system to deal with, how to install some packages, how to start some services. Okay, so mostly that's it. Like, you need to configure some files, by the way. How do you configure all these things, blah blah blah? You are already aware of that. Now what all you need to do is you take one requirement, we take one requirement and we can start what do we say, so solving that particular requirement. So that's where the project comes into picture. So maybe next session we'll start a project only. Okay, so but before to that, so we'll try to understand, okay, how the project look like maybe today, but next session we'll see so actually starting with the project, by the way. So we have some basic understanding how to deal with a Linux operating system, right? Now with this understanding, we'll jump on with this learning. We'll start dealing with the operating system with the real requirements. That's the next exercise. So that's the project part. Now, when I go to the project, or before going to the project, okay. So usually the project, how it looks like, or what is the, you can also just come a little bit above level and you can start from the business, by the way. Your business applications are going to be, any company who is doing the business, they can be doing in two ways: business to business and business to customer, B2B or B2C. So these are the two types of business models generally you'll be having. B2B and B2C, any application. Now let's say you take WhatsApp. WhatsApp is there for B2Bs and as well as B2Cs also. That means, we can send some business messages. Okay, for an example, if you want to send a WhatsApp message, maybe you send to a couple of friends, maybe like something like that. We have business account, or at least I have business account. We want to send a message, we'll bulk send to some thousands of people. Okay, so that's a business. WhatsApp does the thing. WhatsApp has both the things. Okay, now you take Azure, by the way. Now Azure Cloud, and Azure Cloud is mostly for B2B model, or any cloud you take, it's a B2B model only. It can't be B2C model, right? If I am actually, like, let's say I am actually coming and keeping my server in Azure, that means that server has some purpose. Why I create a server in the very first place? Because I have some business problem and I'm solving that particular problem by keeping an application or something in the server, right? I run some business. Maybe training is my business, right? Companies actually try to create the server for their business. Okay, like end user can't actually just create the server and pay the bill, right? So he has to do something. If he is doing something, that is some sort of business only, end of the day, right? So it's like B2B only model only mostly. Okay, not the B2C like that. So the business application or applications, you should start categorizing whether it is a B2B or B2C. And B2B market is quite larger than B2C market generally. Okay, also, and B2C has its own challenges. So that means, like, public facing so applications, by the way, generally has to go through certain more things. But B2B, I think it's behind the scene. Okay, by the way, so it's mostly, you will not see certain things. But yeah, so this is okay. Let's not go too much into this, by the way. but just generally categorize, I mean, this wording convention is what, when you actually talk to someone, these wording conventions are, very important. So you need to talk like, hey, my project, company I'm working on is something like, it's a B2B application, by the way, this is our business. Okay. This is how the business problem is there. This is the application which, which is solving this so-and-so business problem. So it's all about general context. Now, how a modern projects generally look like is like this, by the way. So you're going to have a 3-layer applications: web layer, application layer, and database layer. Okay. Now, the web layer, which is going to have a web frame where you can access directly on the desktop, or maybe servers accessing the web layer. That's okay. Or you also have modern applications having the mobile applications, mobile already having a frame, that the frame will then talk to this application layer. Okay, that means I go and open azure.com. Now you open Azure, I open Azure, the left side columns are all same only. And all the keywords are still same only. Only certain values will change here, right? The frame is fixed. The frame is fixed. Okay. Now to get this web page, there's a hell lot of calls will get made to here. Okay. So okay. Network. Now I'll just try to do a simple refresh on this page. Now you'll see that, so how many network calls I'm making. So it will just try, you can just try to see here. So I'm just doing a refresh. Now you're thinking that as a simple web page, but no, it's a frame, and that frame will be filled with a lot of data, and Azure has to go to so many places and get the data. Okay. So to give you that web page, it made almost like 372 or 370 requests behind the scene. You see this number, 370 requests it made just to give you that web page information, because it loaded many things. Okay, we are thinking this is a simple web page. No, so you have a hell lot of things on the big applications, by the way. So now the web layer make a lot of calls to the application. Okay, and even your mobile app also will do the same thing. Okay, and so this is okay. So this is what you will be having. There is a frame. Now you open, I open. It's all frame only. Gmail, you open, I open. It's a frame is always same, but the email you choose is a different thing. Okay, so that's where the frame on the mobile is directly on their mobile, or if it is a web browser you're accessing, it's there on the web frame. Now all the information will be fetched on the application layer. All the logic is available on the application layer. Now this application layer is going to understand your web request and get the data mostly from the database layer and get you served here. And that's where, okay, so DB layer also come into picture. And these are 3-layer application. And essentially we call these applications project types as 3-tier application. So the very common terminology that we use, it's a 3-tier application. And now your company may be having, hundreds of microservices or hundreds of services, by the way. Those are still 3-tier applications, but each and every layer has many components. So that means hundreds of application layers are there. Few databases are there. Maybe web frame is only one. That's okay. Okay. So they may be having hundreds of things, and that's where it is called as entire application. So you have many, just to represent, there are many things. We go for entire application. So our project, whatever we talk about, is also an entire application. It's not just a 3-layer, it's entire. It has more, by the way. Okay. And to develop this particular one, it's just a general knowledge only, nothing precisely to our requirement. Now developer will choose different languages to do that. So web layer will be used by React.js, AngularJS, HTML, Flutter, different languages they'll use. Application layer, they'll use different languages like Java, Node.js, Python, Golang, so different languages. Database layer, they have, a lot of databases. SQL databases are there. NoSQL databases are there. Okay, middleware servers, message queues are there. Okay, some caching systems are there. So different systems are there. So these are all will be there in the application. And so these microservices, by the way, the microservices, the developer is actually going to come with or they're not developer, like we already talked about, the business is more towards agile. When the business is moving to more towards agile, okay, so they made towards, they made the things towards microservices, because big application can't be done in small time. So that's where the application developer also made small one, and the small one, small pieces all connected together and makes the application working. And the making the small services, by the way, there are certain advantages. The impact of overall application downtime is very less, by the way. So if I make big application, if one problem in one place, the whole application is down. But we make small pieces of application. So if one piece is having the problem, only that piece of software is having the problem. You take bank as an example. For an example, I'm not able to transfer. At least I'm still able to see my statement. I'm still able to log in. I'm still able to see my balance. Okay. I'm still able to see my interest. Okay. Many things is still possible. Maybe I'm not able to do a transfer, or only the statement service is down. So maybe I'll not be able to only generate the statement. Rest of the things I can still do. Okay. Like that, the overall downtime brings very less, by the way, for microservices. And also it is possible to do a horizontal scaling. Okay. Horizontal scaling means, okay, so generally, like, so for an example, there can be a service which is too much needed to be increased, by the way, on certain things. For an example, you take a bank. Usually on the month end and month starting, there will be a lot of pressure on the banks. Okay, logins, by the way, a lot of people log in. Okay, check the balance, things like that. They'll not do much things, but at least they log in, check the banks. Like, login service has a high thing. Okay, high pressure, by the way. That means I can deal with only the login service scaling. I know to really deal with every service scaling. Okay, that's an advantage. Horizontal scaling is possible. Okay, so here horizontal scaling versus vertical scaling. Okay, so here, see here the diagram. So how vertical scaling is the same server you change to big size, like that. But horizontal scaling is you add more servers, by the way, when you need it, and remove the servers when you don't need it. Okay, so that's another thing. And microservices brings flexibility to choose the different programming languages, by the way. That means each and every service is a different service. They just interact over the network. Network is a common language. Now they can communicate each other, okay, over the network, right? So that's where any service can be written in any language. These are all just the advantages only. Okay, nothing too much. And microservices communicate each other over the network, and microservices help in developing the polycloud apps. So that means some services I can keep it in my one data center. Some services I can keep it in my another data center or one cloud. Okay, it's all possible, like, by the way. Okay, so our project is also a microservice project. So we'll start with our project introduction and information in the next session. Just an understanding part. So we'll revisit this point and we'll continue with the project in the next session. And yeah, that's all from my side for today. And the next class will be after 2 days. Okay. Yeah. Any questions, please go ahead.
Raghu, all these commands will show up in this project, right? What we learned this whole week.
Will be, sorry?
All these commands, Linux commands will show up in this project, right? Like,
may or may not be. No?
oh, okay.
But since it is needed only, we went through them.
Okay, okay.
The administrative section, most of the commands, yes.
I have also like what language we are going to use for creating microservices. We already have a project or we are going to create.
No, I did not got it. What? Sorry.
What language we are going to use for microservices? We already have a project or we are going to create the new project?
No, you are
No,
not a
language.
you're not a developer to create a project, right? So assuming the developer is already made the project and you are engineering it.
Okay. I have a question of what language
So the application is
that project
actually,
is.
yeah, the application we are having is having Angular on the UI, and we have Java services, Node.js, Python, and Golang with both SQL and NoSQL databases, along with caching and message queue.
Okay, we don't have .NET.
We don't have, sorry?
We don't have any project on .NET like microservices on .NET.
.NET.
Yeah.
It can be a .NET also, but how does it matter to you is what I'm asking. Do you read the code? At least I don't read that code because it's not my job, right? So it's whatever the developer give, we'll just simply
No,
set it.
actually, yeah, but actually, I am working on microservices and I'm not able to create the Docker file. Every time when I'm going to create the Docker file, we have some issue and not able to publish the when
One thing, your
the
voice
Docker
is
file is
not clear completely. I'm not able to grasp every word you talk. What is the
I have
problem?
something like,
Please come again.
yeah, I'm not able to create a Docker file of my .NET project, microservices project. Issuing Docker file by creating.
Okay, so that is a different thing. So maybe after Docker, I'll teach you Docker. Okay, one day, by the way. After that, also you're not able to reach. We'll discuss this point if needed.
Okay. Okay.
Is that fair?
Okay. Okay. Yes. Thank
Not able to hear you, Prakash.
Hey, do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I just joined the today demo. I missed the last 4 classes. So from next week onwards, from the day one, will you cover all this, or should I mean,
You have to
this?
go through the recordings. We'll be having 3 days of time. So go through the
Okay.
recordings, and if you have any questions, you can reach out. We have lab session.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
How the training will be going to so like basic to modern level or basic to advanced level.
Sorry, voice is not clear, Anil.
So can you hear me?
I'm able to hear, but voice is kind of muffled, not clear completely. Can you be a bit louder at least?
Yeah, yeah. So how the training will be going to? So like is it basic to modern level or basic to advanced level? In every like tool. Or are you going to teach only whatever the requirement based on the project only?
I think you need. I understood only half part of your question. You're asking about something about what do we teach. Like, can you go back again, rephrase, come again, maybe simple.
Sorry, I didn't get it.
No, repeat your question. Voice is not clear for me to answer completely.
Let me type in the chat.
Be louder at least. That will help.
Yeah. How is the training going to will be like? Is it basic to modern level or basic to advanced level in each chapter tool? Or only going to teach whole and project perspective or what is necessarily?
See, project always take the things deeper, by the way. So the we already talked about this in the engineering in the very first demo session, right? If you take Hello World, everything can be done in a very simple manner. And since we are taking the big project only, the things will become complex. The tools, whatever you learn itself will make the complex, by the way. Okay, why? Because of the big project. If it is a small project, ideally the same tool, whatever we talk about, is going to be lesser complexity. So you will see more only all the time. Not able to hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Hey Raghu. All right. Yeah. So I just curious, like I already have like 14 years of experience on the infrastructure side, but I was completely working on the infrastructure side. I never focused on the DevOps side. So will be like for me, I saw the syllabus, but will this session will be like cover the advanced level students also, or it will be like more basic?
So what is your, when you say 14 years of experience,
Mm-hmm.
what
So
are you into?
I work on Azure, Ansible, and Python, but it's more only on we handle on the. I never touched the Kubernetes. Okay.
No. I did not, still not got it.
Mhm.
So which part of infrastructure you are working? So you're, I mean, let's say 14 years.
IaaS, infrastructure as a service. I'm part of the infrastructure as a service team.
Still, I did not able to visualize your role. What is, when you say 14?
Platform engineer. Yeah.
Hold on. 1 second. Huh? So when you
Okay.
say 14 years of experience, what is your core thing, by the way? Okay, infrastructure as a service, by the way, someone create a network also is an infrastructure as a service. Someone
Okay.
create a service also.
We handle the virtual machine and the OS deployment.
So your whole 14 years is into the cloud, creating virtual
We
machines.
started with on-prem and yeah, we could have our on-prem and then we shifted to from on-prem. I started with the on-prem. That was my almost 60 to 7, like 8 years of experience, and then with last 4 to 5 years, I was working on the cloud.
So your job is only to create virtual machines and manage OS.
Yes.
You're a server administrator.
Not server administrator.
Server engineer.
Yes. So we take care of all the, basically automation. We don't do like, we create the services so the user can, like how we are deploying in the cloud, right? The same thing, we create it and we leverage, we publish that to the different teams, and so the teams can do their provision by themselves.
So typically from the platform side.
Yes.
Okay. So, but you will be coming out of the infra side, which infra is again part of your role, you're mostly coming onto the application side. Okay, so whatever we talk about is all about application. So that's where the last few minutes also I was talking about application. It doesn't matter, what runs beneath the scene, by the way. So we just look from the above level, or we just step up a little bit, and we'll deal with more of the business application level, what runs, by the way. So that is the whole context of this training. Okay. So whether that needs to deal with Kubernetes, does deal with virtual machines, whatever I need to deal with, by the way. So we'll deal with all the layers of that particular thing to make our application up and running.
Okay.
Yeah. So now, since you mentioned you are coming from the VMware background, right? So have you been all the time doing the VM provisioning with the code, or I mean to say, like, you do the PXE booting and dealing with the things right from scratch, everything. You do like end-to-end automation. Are you already doing it? Or you've been doing it manually by doing clicks based on the typical tickets it comes in, and you work act on? Like, what is your
starting from the beginning, we were doing manually, like when starting off my career, right? So, but after like maybe 2013, from 2013 onwards, we started creating those scripts and APIs to provision and leveraging the VMware modules, and we create that using .NET and Java. Create the web services, so that way other applications can call by themselves, right? So they don't need to depend on the dedicated infrastructure team, right? Anytime
you wrote web services also.
Yes.
Yours is too much mixed profile.
Yeah, we are kind of like infrastructure, admin plus automation.
Admin plus automation is fine, but you went till developing the web services also is something is wondering, but because I never seen such kind of profile completely. Either you had to lift on the, or else I don't know, like I can't comment completely, but at least since you're telling that the way it's already an enterprise big organization completely, right? So definitely it's a very big organizations you work for, and there you do end to end is something is very very difficult to visualize, by the way. It
is. I'm telling from the starting, right? So when VMware introduced, right, they started with the script and they published their module. They didn't directly expose the API, right? So we created from their library. Like, we use their library and we create the API on top of it, right? And then now VMware itself, they exposed the API.
VMware has API from very starting, no? So
web service, you can, right now it's more matured, but in the beginning, like 2011 period, we have to download the SDK and build using .NET or Java, create the web service.
I don't think
it's so, not directly like you create.
That's okay. Let's not get into the detail. I mean, ESX, I have been using ESX from ESX, by the way. Later ESX I came into picture and all. From that time itself, it is all automation is possible. From day one, I dealt with VMware is with automation only. That's okay. That's a different thing. So now coming back to this, actually, let's go to your original. I wanted to understand your context, by the way. So I think you have fair idea on many of the things. So so this training goes on delivering an application more onto the application level. So we don't bother about the infra prospect. Infra is as a service which is offered by someone which is as a cloud here. So our more role towards here is to making the application up and running. Yeah.
Okay.
And whatever it needs to do, we need to do.
Okay. So will this cover like so from the DevOps perspective, I don't know, like this topic of like how I can harden the Docker image and how I can make sure where the images, all the images running are secured. All those will be also covered.
Yeah. We have a separate security section. So this course itself, it is DevSecOps actually.
Okay.
We'll make sure everything is secure. At the end, we'll just now also today's session also I was talking. The network it is which is widely open. We will try to close, we'll talk about a lot of security. So the security big exercise we do. So we'll make sure all the things, server hardening, image hardening, platform hardening from Kubernetes.
Okay. Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's all I have. Yeah, thanks for it.
Yeah. Okay, I think it's late. So that's all from my side for today, and we'll meet in after 2 days. Okay, bye. Good day. Good night.